Hello and welcome to today's content, which will be on Glaciela and her Regalia version. This will be a unit analysis and talking about her and or if you should pull her based on her unit stats and abilities and kit, rather than if she is considered a waifu status. Anyways, without further ado, let's begin. Here we are for her abilities, and her main job is the Silver-Maned Princess. She can get Besteering Baton, Rally Magic, Grand Explosion, Wounding Fangs, Azure Impact, and her limit break, which is going to be Dreams Come True. Her EX upgrade is going to turn Wounding Fangs into Rending Fangs, and then she also gets for her ability the Regal Tranquility. As you can see here, some of her abilities do have cast times and some do not, so she has a good mix of both. As you can see here also from the Dreams Come True, it's going to reduce the reaction chance of it happening, and it also grants her a little restore for herself. And considering that she has a higher max AP because she is a mage and she has, I believe, the same AP scenario as like Yuna, Aerith, and Black Robed Helena, that means that 10% AP is actually going to be a pretty decently good amount. So that's good to see at least. Also, as you can see, specifically for Rendering Fangs and Wounding Fangs, the difference between the two is going to be that if they have haste, then she can deal additional damage from Rending Fangs. And then Wounding Fangs, even if they have haste, it does not matter. So it's like a small improvement at least. From here, her sub-job of her main job, Silver-Maned Princess, she's going to get Sleep Force Triple Bite, which is a 3-hit. So she can instantly break barriers that are magic if she needs to. And then Woven Howl. Woven Howl, as you can see, is going to reduce the magic resistance by 38% for 3 turns for targets. I have to say, keep in mind, also, all her sub-jobs, everything has cast time. Nothing is not cast time. As you can see, there's little clocks behind, below the icons. But yeah, Woven Howl specifically, you're probably like, oh my gosh, she can reduce magic resistance. And I said that too. But if you realize at the wording, it reduces it after hitting. And because she has much stronger hard-hitting AoEs already, the scenario of her using Woven Howl is not going to be very high. It's going to be much more significantly less. For King Mont, it's a little bit different because his only AoE ability on his main job outside of his sub job and his limit break is Claws of the Young Lion, which can slash resistance in peril, which he will use if there are multiple targets. However, because Glaciela has already a lot of AoE abilities, the chances of her using Woven Howl is much, much lower because the other things will hit harder because it's not calculating the magic resistance down before hitting. Anyways, moving on to the White Mage subjob. As you can see, she has some really good stuff here. She has Shell and Protect and Curaga Curata. However, she is missing 3 things here, which is going to be either a full raise, wholly, and or a re-raise. Those are one of the 3 really important stuff. If you don't have one of those 3, it feels kind of half-hearted, I would say. I mean, it still allows her to be a pocket healer, but she won't be as good of a healer. And lastly, we have the Scholar subjob, which most importantly I would say is going to be the Law of Geo-Absorption. That means she does have access to a strike type attack that is magic damage based, so that's pretty good overall. Moving to her resistances and passives. Also, she is a 3-move, 1-jump unit, and 100 cost, so she does have that. She is going to be expensive for people who are trying to pull her and are getting unlucky. Her resistances to damage types: 5% to slash, -10% to pierce, -5% to strike, 15% to missile, and 20% to magic. As you can see overall, she actually has really good resistances even before anything else, especially with slash, because you can easily increase it with a vision card that's going to be literally perfect for her. She already has really good high magic attack resistance and missile resistance. Strike you can also get up decently, but I mean the only real strike we'll see right now is going to be mostly Tifa and stuff like that, so it's not too much. Right now for Pierce as well, we won't see too much until later, which I will talk about in her rating page. But yeah, as a base unit, she also has 10% AoE resistance, 0% single target. At level 120, master ability included, she has 8 base defense and 0 spirit. So as you can see already, she's going to be decently physically bulky very soon. Resistances to statuses, 50% to confusion and stun, 10% to sleep. As you can see here, no resistance to silence, no resistance to disable, no resistance to stop. I mean, at least she has stun and confusion resistance, but it really feels like kind of out of nowhere, especially not like as much meta fitting in my opinion. For her master ability, she has the mono fire, which is, you know, everyone's gonna have their element one, or should. She does have increased AoE resistance by 10, which is very nice. She's gonna be like quote unquote like the same amount of AoE resistance as Cloud, and she has innately cast time reduction, which is pretty good. From here, for her passives, she has Arcane Assault Lore, and then its EX upgrade is going to additionally add 40% Spirit Penetration. And as you can see here, this passive is also going to give a further cast time reduction, so it's going to be very good to combo with. And then she has Scholarly Intuition that can also increase her defense, so she can get to a base of 20 defense easily. And I say this because the Niche and Flex passives, Knowledge Reserves, and March of the Saints are so much more insignificant compared to her other passives. Also, as you can tell, she really only has 4 passives. There is not much flexibility in what you can really provide for her, sadly. So yeah, these are just going to be the 2 recommended passives, and I will say you probably should not ever use anything else outside of those 2. For her reaction abilities, she has Magic Deflection, Regenerator, and Reactive Force. I will say Magic Detection is going to be insanely good because it's a magic reflex and it's 20%. It's not 15%, it is 20%, so that's pretty good for a magic reflex. That's going to be very nice to have. Especially because she does not have any spirit, so magic damage but not attack type is going to be pretty effective against her decently, like to an extent. So here we are finally at the rating page, and Glaciela's rating out of 5. First off, before you look at the rating of 4 out of 5, I want to explain. 1, she is a 100 cost unit. She is more expensive and you need to be getting your money's worth for a 100 cost unit. 2, she is mostly DPS oriented, and because her White Mage subjob does not have enough of the stuff she needs to be like super good at healing and or viable as only a healer, she doesn't get enough of a benefit from that. And yeah, those are reasons why I gave her a 4 out of 5, and I want you to think about that before I start talking about everything else. But yeah, without further ado, let's go for the pros first. She has 10% AoE resistance before her 20 base defense, which is very nice against mostly physical damage in general, and all AoE abilities in general, so that's very nice to have. She has decent HP, good magic, and very high agility. She actually has higher agility than even Helena, meaning she can outspeed her. She has 40% Spirit Penetration on a passive, and she's able to be a sub-healer due to her sub-job White Mage. She can use Helena's TMR for a barrier, which is insanely important, meaning that she can even outspeed other Helenas, even if they're using her own barrier as well. Like, she could just match them pretty much. She can use maces, which means she can use the healing mace as a possibility. She has a variety of AoE and single target abilities for high damage. None of them are really like too low damage, like they're all pretty significant. She has cast time reduction on her master ability and a passive, which is very nice to have. She has the fire element. Her being a fire element and being magic means the Encounter of Heroes vision card is going to be insanely beneficial for her. It might even be like best in slot. Like, I know a lot of people don't like that term, especially in this game, because there's a lot of like mechanics and like information and like viability for builds, but I do believe it might be as close to a best in slot for her as possible, just because of what it can provide for her. She also has magic reflex available to her, which is very nice, and she has a possible 2 attack types due to the Scholar subjob because of the law of geo absorption. Keep in mind though that does only have 3 casts, but I mean, if they're dead, those 3 casts did work. Now, her lacking in needs, I changed this from cons because I feel like cons is a little bit too negative. I changed it to lacking in needs, which is going to be basically the same, it's just a different naming, but also going to be more on my opinions on how I think she like has weaknesses and or needs improvements in places. So yeah, she has no base spirit, meaning magic damage outside of magic attack types means they're going to be less mitigated and they will do more significant damage for her. Like, for example, if you use like Elsurel Summers, like Law of Geo-Absorption or her EX upgraded one, it will do significant damage to Glaciela, if not just outright kill her straight up. Like, it's going to be very good against her in terms of that. She needs 100% hit ability. Glaciela does not have 100% hit ability, which is very disappointing, especially as a 100 cost unit, and you know there's another 100 cost unit that has it. She doesn't have one, so obviously evade units are going to be good against her. She has no elemental imperils and or debuffs for her situation. Her magic attack res imperil is on a subjob, and as I said earlier, because it lowers the resistance after hitting, the AI will choose not to use it over her like 200% hit damage ability instead. Like, it will be much much less chance of her using that, which is very disappointing and sad. She's unable to beat out Black Robe Helena in damage, even with the possibility of 260% as a damage modifier. Helena has 200% on her limit break and an imperil of negative 38% to dark, and if you lower someone's defense before hitting, that does a significant more damage compared to just hitting them with a higher damage modifier if it is mitigated. So that means Helena has a little bit more guaranteed damage compared to Glaciela here. Also, you have to keep in mind that because Helena's limit break lowers the dark elemental, that means all her dark teammates can work off that. Glaciela does not have anything for that to help her teammates. She is a more selfish DPS only for herself, like own damage. And you can, in my opinion, I think it's important because like on the combo, like it's very hard to survive a Helena limit break into a Dwayne like hit. For this example, if Glaciela hit you with a 260% damage and then like Kingmont or Rain hit afterwards, chances are they're still gonna probably be alive, especially if it's mitigated to an extent. It is much harder to survive Helena's combo. That's like the match difference I'm trying to make here. Because she's also locked to maces, that means she has no staff, rod, or cypress pile flexibility, meaning she has no damage items that will give her a decent amount of magic attack res penetration outside of like Soul of Tomasa and such like that. Some abilities will still have cast time, and that means she must resolve it. Even though she has reduction, she still has to resolve some of them. She's mainly attack type oriented. Literally 99% of her attacks are going to be magic attack or magic attack type oriented. So without significant investment of resources, she's unable to penetrate it properly or decently. Her White Mage subjob does not have one of the most three important things, as I said. No full life, no holy, no re-raise. Very sad to see. She has very mediocre status resistances. She has no silence resistance, no disable resistance, and no stop resistance, which is going to be very, very worrying if she gets hit by any of those, or like has a chance to be hit by those. Also, lastly, she has no other mitigation or barrier abilities outside of like Protect, Shell, and like the Scholar ones, but that is conditional. Those subjobs are being correctly used and utilized. Outside of that, at least she can still use Helena's TMR, but yeah, these are like the most glaring issues I see it as her as a unit, as a DPS unit and a 100 cost unit. If she was like a 80 cost unit or a 90 cost, I think she might be a 4.5 out of 5 unit, but because she's a 100 cost unit, I have to compare to also other like 100 cost units as well, so that's why in the end, she is a 4 out of 5 unit. Now, her TMR chase rating, I give it a 3 out of 5. Maybe it's even lower. I don't feel too like happy about it, mostly because it doesn't give agility. But yeah, the Royal Rosette Dress is going to be armor type. Gives up to 12 spirit at least, but no agility is kind of sad. The active at least is going to be March of the Wolf Princess, which is going to be very nice, and that increases magic percentage for her teammates in that range, as you can see, and increases magic resistance penetration for herself by 20% for 3 turns. As you can see, only 20% on a TMR does not feel as good, especially compared to Garvel's TMR, which will be 50% instead, which will be significantly better. But keep in mind, because these are TMR slots, they have to give a good enough amount compared to other TMRs. So that's why in the end I gave it like a 3 out of 5, maybe even 2.5 out of 5, but yeah, this is overall going to be her rating. So here's my example setup for Glaciela. If I were to use her just for fun, for AoE resistance build, this is what I would go with and probably play around with in Arena maybe in the future if I did pull her and get her like ready to go very fast, but because she has a 100 cost unit, it's a little bit hard. Mont would be using the Death Machine vision card to boost everyone's AoE resistance. Cloud's using his own for his own damage and his own little bit extra of AoE resistance. Glaciela here is going to be using Counter of Heroes vision card because that's going to be literally her best defensive and offensive vision card in my opinion. She's going to be using Platinum Mace mostly for the like huge magic stat. I forgot what this armor is called, however it does give her a good amount of defense and slash resistance. This will bring her up to like 39 base defense I believe before like anything else. Just using her passive in this armor, 39 defense is pretty significant. Helena's TMR is going to be used here because of the barrier, mostly just so she survives, and it's conditionary that you have a barrier break to kill her in one shot. Bahamut is going to be her choice of Esper until we get like a fire damage Esper later in the future. I don't know when or if it'll come out, but yeah, until then I do believe Bahamut in general will be her best for her for now, until she has other magic damage oriented Espers to go around with. Future stuff to consider though, her TMR is definitely in the future if you really want to just like deal 1 damage like hit blows. I do believe that Garvo's TMR is going to be very, very helpful for her because of the magic attack penetration. I also think I will actually replace my Platinum Mace with the Soul of Dhamasa, because Soul of Dhamasa gives it still a decent amount of magic. It won't be as high, however. I do want that 25% silence resistance, 8% magic resistance, and 10% magic resistance penetration. 10% will be much better than 0% at least in that regard. And lastly, future stuff to consider: water damage in general, pierce in general, and spirit damage will be effective against Glaciela pretty well. This means Mua is also going to be a very hard counter to her. I don't say hard counter for many units because I really don't like that term, especially because of just how it is. But Mua will be a hard counter for her. Not only is she a water element, she is also anti-magic. I do not believe Glaciela will have any chance. Like, if I had to mash them up together, I would say Glaciela has a 0% chance of winning in all circumstances against Mua. I just have to say that. And I will say maybe in my party example, Cloud will kill Mua in one shot, but Glaciela will not be doing anything to her herself, so she can't even provide like chip damage to her. But yeah. We also have Oberon coming out in like a few months, who is a very, very strong pierce hitter. I believe it will be a decent matchup, but I don't think he can one-shot her because she has a good amount of defense as well. So yeah. Overall, this is my rating of Glaciela, and we've come to the end of the video. If you liked it, please leave a like and subscribe or a comment. And yeah, if you do pull for her, good luck. She's a 100 cost unit, a little bit expensive and pricey, but if you get her very easily or like with not too much Vizier, I'm happy for you. I hope it goes well. But yeah, until the next video, peace out.